Bosatalada basandere bebe sudada bahaso. Kandede bebe. Mandala basanta. Likatalabasonte kebehaso. I want to greet you all that have joined me in this broadcast. May the Lord bless you. May God lift you up. May He meet you at the point of your demand placing. I believe that God is going to speak with me. He will think through my mind and you speak through my tongue, as I'm going to be bringing in streams that can bring income to an individual that are biblically attested, tried, and proven. I'm going to take my reading from the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 11, verse 2. We rise in this kingdom through our access to spiritual mysteries as well as secrets of the kingdom of God, and our ignorance becomes an approval for the devil to use us and to traffic in our lives. I'll read Ecclesiastes chapter 11, verse 2. Give portions to 7, yes to 8, for you do not know what disaster may come upon the land. My assignment this afternoon, the 31st of January, is we are closing the chapter of January in 2021 and crossing over to another chapter of February. And one thing that we have to understand is that life is demarcated and segmented with doors. So after January is gone and fast spent, the next season that we get to February, we don't just cross over the February, but there's a gate and a door that we should pass through. And in every gate, there are watchers of those gates that God has assigned and ordained on that gate. And you need to know how to access your gate or your door. There are doors that are demonic. Those ones, they need to be bulldozed. And there are those that are godly and spiritual. You need to find the right key to open such a door. And most of the doors, they are opened, especially those that are spiritual, with a godly and a spiritual door that is called wisdom or knowledge. Life, this life that we are living, it's a spiritual, and living itself, it's spiritual, and our interaction in this dimension, it's dimensional. We interact in the spiritual dimension, and there are two dimensions that we interact with. There is the sovereign dimension. From the sovereign dimension, we have got the demonic dimension. We interact with it again, and we've got the physical dimension. How do we interact with the demonic dimension? Before I go deeper with my exegesis to just bring clarity and cogentity, we interact when we deal with the demons, reversal of demons. The moment we say, you demon, go back to the center and go back to the dry land where there's no life, that's an interaction. So if your voice is not familiar in any dimension, you will experience terror. So today I have brought 4 streams of income that are biblically attested and biblically authenticated. I call them recession proofs of streams and income. Recession proof streams of income. 4 streams of income that will help you. There are at least 8 based on Ecclesiastes chapter 11 subsection 2, and I call them recession proof streams of income. They are all in the Bible, but I'm going to give you only 4. Then by the grace of God, through the revelation of God, you will try by all means to investigate the other form. Other versions, they say invest in 7 places. Yeah, In 8, for you do not know what disaster or risk that may come upon the land. That's NLT. And one from King James Version, it says, give portions to 7 year to 8, for you do not know what disaster may come upon the land. So as children of God, people of God, we don't have to just spiritualize everything. That's the challenge of being married to a man of God, or dating a man of God, or befriending a man of God, because we are always spiritualizing every event in this life. But they are biblical proofs of financial flow that has been indulged and placed in the scriptures. So as we continue to peruse scriptures from Genesis to Revelation, we get to the book that was written by one of the most astronomic, prolific, and profound writers in the name of King Solomon. He gave us those streams, and these are the streams that I'm going to give to you. In other words, when he say, give portions to 7 year to 8, for you do not know what disaster may come upon the land. In other words, he's saying, scatter your streams. You don't have to just put your eggs in one basket. That's a theological gibberish that we've been taught. We've been told that you just have to put your eggs in one basket. If that basket falls, what will happen to your eggs? They will all be destroyed. So you must scatter your financial streams. You must scatter your investment. First stream that will give you income, and that will never let you down, is land. Land and anything you can get on it, under it, and above it. It's all called land. We know it as real estate. So as a child of God, as God is going to bring income and finances in your life, you need to invest your finances, your income, in land, not in Porsche cars only, which is profitable to drive a Porsche car, driving a Mercedes, a BMW. I drive a Mercedes. I like nice clothes, which is profitable. It's not bad. But you need now to do investment on land. You are not rich if you do not own land. In spite of whatever you have, you may have a mega church, you may drive beautiful cars, but if you don't own land, you are not rich. The true measure of riches is in land, because land, one, it's a fixed asset, it's not a liability. Cars are liable to damage. Even if a bomb falls on the land, it can only affect what's on it. You will not see a big hole suddenly looking at you on that land. Then you can build again on that land. Whatever is under the land, it's yours as well, as long you own that land. Which means if there is a discovery of gold, platinum, copper, diamonds, that becomes yours. So anything that is on the land is not only the physical land mass, is what is down on the land, then what is on that land, then on top of that land. Which means if on your land it's raining and other lands it's not raining, you are the beneficiary and the benefactor of that which is on that land. Land, again, is one of the greatest communicators of God's justice system and mercy upon the inhabitants of the earth. On this ecosystem and on this cosmos, God always wants to communicate his justice, his mercy upon his creation. So the first thing that God has released upon humanity, in spite of your ethnicity, in spite of your religion, in spite of your political affiliation, in spite of your beliefs, it's land. That's why land can be occupied and owned by necromancer, by witches. It can be owned even by people that we hate. So that's the first stream of income that you can use as a recession-proof stream of income. In this year 2021, we've got a lot of things that we've put and resolved to accomplish and to do, but the only way we are going to accomplish these things is by understanding the mind of God and the spirituality of God. And what is this mind of God? The mind of God now that we have this afternoon is that you must have at least 8 streams of income. Land is the greatest communicator. That's why when he took them from Egypt to Canaan, the first thing that he promised them was land. When he said take over even Jericho, the first thing that God spoke about was land. When they went to fight with Ai and with the Amorites at Padan Arani, the mind of God was land. He was saying it's not enough for you to be spiritual. It's not enough for you to be prayerful. It's not enough for you to have a status quo, but you must own land. That's why when they went to Canaan, they went and they took land. And he said, God, when he was speaking to his children, Israel, that the land that you are going to go to, it flows with milky and honey, and the inhabitants of the land are giants. But don't be afraid, you are going to take and you are going to possess, but you must till the land. In our olden days, AD, even when our ancestors were moving in, the greatest communicator of wealth in their civilization was land. It's only now that we think that Lamborghinis, Bentleys are the greatest communicators of wealth. So that's number one, on land. Whatever money, income that you can have, you need to get into real estate, on land. You may be broke, you may be on your loan, but as long as you've got land, you've got somewhere, a fallback plan where you get to and you go to. Secondly, the second stream of income that I've computed is education. Anything that you can do, either public speaking, writing, or setting up structures and systems that transfer knowledge to people, that's education. The moment you set up a structure that transfers knowledge, that transfers wisdom and understanding, that becomes again another investment that is written in the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 11, subsection 2, that scatter your streams of income, give portions to 7 year to 8, for you do not know what disaster that may come upon the land. Other vision says, invest in 7 places, yea, in 8, for you do not know what risk may come upon the land. That's NLT. Education is all about imparting knowledge. That's education. The moment you impart knowledge, that becomes education. The Bible gives us clue into becoming rich. It says, before the coming of Christ, the second millennial, knowledge shall increase. That's one of the clues and indication that it's one of the best businesses and stream of income that you can get into as we are getting and nearing the end time. Knowledge, a lot of people would pursue knowledge. A lot of people, they would try by all means to get knowledgeable. So they will go to people with structures, people who understand how to impart knowledge. There will be insatiable demand. That's what the Bible says. There will be insatiable demand for knowledge. That means anything you do that transfers knowledge, it's a guaranteed source of income. Whatever you do, if you've got an idea, put it down, document it down, let people understand, know it. And you put it down because there is an insatiable appetite and demand for knowledge. People, they'll always ask and look for you. There is no secret or nothing to hide there. The moment you just impart knowledge, you become someone. Speaking itself, it imparts knowledge. How many people have made money in our entirety, in our entire life? Millions, if not billions of dollars for just speaking. You don't use a lot of energy. I read about one of the greatest preachers of our all time, Dr. Miles Monroe. I heard that whenever he could speak, the second that he would speak, he could be earning at least 6,000 a second. Then if he speaks for an hour, you just calculate that 6,000 a second times the seconds that are in an hour. That's the money that he was making, and he died a billionaire for just speaking. There, when you speak, it's not just speaking. When you speak, you are communicating or transferring knowledge. When we speak, like what I'm doing, I'm transferring knowledge, and that's what I'm paid to do. And I have seen income coming by just speaking to people. And when you speak, you don't use a lot of energy. You just repeat the same thing that you've been speaking. You don't need to shout or jump. 10 years after, you be paid for the things that you speak today. You don't use a lot of impetus and a lot of gusto. You just use your knowledge, your understanding at your time. One of the cheapest aspects of education now that I'm gonna give to you is writing. This is one of the cheapest aspects of education, is writing. You can just document your information, your ideas. As long there is something you think the world should know, write it down, document it into information with excellence and precision of mind. Don't just write gibberish information. Document it with the precision and excellence of your mind. And again, when you put it down, try by all means to put value on what you do, because a lot of people, they will not just pay you and release their income based on what you've put on the ground. They pay value. Life pays people value. Value is in two. Value, the first aspect of value is the virtue that comes through value, and the second aspect is your proximity and your nearness to the person of Jesus Christ. So your proximity to Jesus Christ, it brings value to you. Then again, your virtue, it brings value to you. Purpose Driven Life, written by Rick Warren, one of the books. That book, it brought tens and hundreds of millions of dollars. The book was so profound, prolific. It had a lot and deep information that made a lot of money. It rattled the ideologies of nations. So the only limitation in your life and in my life that we should have is only the voice of God, not lack of creativity. That's the only limitation. My limitation in this life is creativity, not lack of information, lack of creativity. It has to be the voice of God, because for you to access the voice of God, there's a lot of investment that comes with it. Write, document books that will rattle the nations, and you're going to get money. There's nothing to hide about that. What we do, even as Christians, even as ministers of the gospel, at the end of the day, we must make money. Number 3, job. Your job is another source of income. Paid employment is a stream of income. So your job is not that bad. Even if you're a minister of the gospel, you don't have to quit your job. It's not bad, it's not demonic, it's not diabolical, it's not necromancy, it's not sedition, it's not rhetorical. Your job is as good as your ministry. It creates income for you. You can get a job and receive a salary from it. And the beautiful part about it is that your salary can give you and provision for your short-time needs. When I get a salary, I cover some short-time needs, because and you know that every month you get something, and something is coming. It can be small, but you know and guaranteed that something is coming. So it can give you room to focus on other things that will take time to build, which means if you have been called and ordained to be a business person, a business tycoon, a business mogul, you want to build conglomerate companies, the first thing is to have somewhere to work and to start. Strive Masiwa started working as an IT guy for Net One. He get salary, something that could provide for his short-time needs. Then when time comes for him to become a big man, one of the greatest men that has rattled the nations, that's when he left what he was doing and he got into business. This is the greatest mistake that a lot of my brothers, especially in ministry, does. The moment they hear the voice of God, they dump education, they sell land, they sell properties, they leave jobs. And when they leave jobs, they leave it in a bad way and they start to focus on the things of God. But God is saying, scatter your streams in different ways. And the ways that God has spoken of, these are not all spiritual ways. These are ways that are, economic, ways that brings the socio-economic structure to a person's life. You need to think value, you need to think excellence, you need to think creativity, you need to think money. Then from job, the last one that I'm gonna give to you, it's transportation. The fourth one is transportation. The only reason why the oil and gas companies are useful is because there are people who are making movements. If there were no people who were making movements, oil and gas companies were going to be broke. So a lot of us now, we always want to get in these big companies, want to run oil rigs without knowing that what is making an oil rig to run, what is making people in Nigeria, like Aliko Dangote, one of the billionaires in Africa, who is running one of the biggest cement plant in Nigeria, and some other now oil rigs in Nigeria. The reason why he is excelling in that area of oil is because there is a need for transport. There is a demand for transport. We all have oil, gas business, but we hate transportation. How unwise are we? We need to venture into transportation. And one thing that you must know is that as long as there are human beings on the earth, there will be movements. As long as there are human beings on earth, there will be movements. In biology, we studied the movement of parts of quality of living, the movement of part of quality of living. And we were told that the other part of quality of movement that makes people to have a qualitative, not a quantitative life is prosperity. And when we're taught that again as a source of making income when we grow up. You cannot imagine the money you donated to transport companies for some years that you have been using taxis, combis, Uber, Bolt, tax fees. You cannot imagine if that company was yours, it could be your money today. Which means if you calculate the dollar, the rand that you used from the time you started to make movements and you were donating to those transport companies versus the people that you could embark on those transport and taxis with, that money could be yours today. That's why even in this lockdown, because of COVID-19, the oil company was not affected. Cars are still moving, aeroplanes are moving, trains are moving, which means the people that are owning transport companies, they are making a lot of money. Most of our money is dedicated on one thing, and those things are not profitable to us. A lot of our money, we buy a lot of clothes, which is profitable. We buy powerful big phones, iPhone 7, iPhone 9. We buy Samsungs, and those things that are not profitable to us. Some of people, they rent a 3-bedroom house, yet you are alone, only to prove a point that you are big, yet you are not. There are 2 bedrooms that have got small mattresses that are on the floor. And that money, if you could have invested it, by now it could have made you one of the greatest financial best people. So we buy even big cars 3 liters, 4 liters, 5 liters, to just prove a point of which if we can save that money, we'll create a lot of income. And whereas we could be saving a lot of money each and every time when we do something. Saving is one of the very profound. I did economics, management of business, and accounting, and I was taught all these things. So for me to say what I have is because of the grace of God, that would be a sophistry, that could be a fallacy, that could be a lie. I have what I have because I have learned the art of saving. The transport sector, it's a mystery on its own. It's a mysterious sector, very mysterious. You need to understand it from a spiritual standpoint. It's a mysterious sector that people, they neglect it. We leave home in the morning and come back in the evening by the reason of the transport that we neglect. So it's a very mysterious sector that needs to be approached with a spiritual understanding, spiritual medulla oblongata. The income that comes into your hand is very direct, proportional to the demand that you give. Any income that is going to come into your hand is a direct proportion to the demand that is going to come to you. So if there is no demand placing in whatever you do, there's not going to be income. Create value, be creative, so that there may be a lot of demand in you. In economics, they have a principle, and they say in that principle that the prices of products and services are determined by the free forces of demand and supply. The prices of products and services, they are determined by the free forces of demand and supply. So if there is no demand, there is no supply. If there's no supply, the opposite is true. So your demand in 2021 is the one that is going to bring financial streams in your life. Whatever you can't do for yourself in this life, you will always pay for it. If you get it for free, it means someone has paid for it. I've got a lot of people that always say, I don't pay for things, I got things for free. No, there's nothing for free under the sun. The only thing that is for free is the sun under the sun. But when it comes to things that are materialistic or materialism, those things, there is a need of proper transaction. There must be a medium of exchange that brings that thing into your pew. So if you don't pay for it yourself, it means somebody has already paid for it. The challenge with the body of Christ, we have been living and told to be consumers, not producers. We are just consumers. But in life, one thing that we need to understand as a principle is that change is inevitable. And if you don't initiate change, you'll be a victim of change, which means in this cosmos, there are two types of people. They are initiators of change and they are victims of change. So you need to find yourself, where are you? Are you initiating change? If you're not initiating change, you are a victim of the change that is happening in your life. If you are not a victim, you are the initiator of that change. So understand that land is money. It has been said to be land. It's a store of value. Land becomes a transfer of value. Land becomes a medium of value. So let's have land. Let's have education. As for me, I have enrolled recently on a program that I'm doing so that I may advance myself. I may be creative. I'm doing bachelor's in ministry honors after I've done my master's in theology. And for the past 2 years, to tell you the truth, I don't want to lie, I've not been eating from seeds, from tithes and free wills, of which our people, they don't pay, but I've been paid for transferring knowledge. My profile now is big, that I'm paid for just speaking. It's only here on Facebook where I just speak for free so that I may help my brother out there, my sister out there. But after this discussion, after this theological exegesis and explanation of the principles of life. I go out, then I get Zoom meetings, I transfer knowledge, I get paid for that. There's no secret about it. So have education. If you've failed your matric, your form 4, there is still an opportunity for you to do something with yourself. Get a job. If things are not moving ministerially, get a job until you are financially stable. Then leave the job and become a full-time. The full-time concept of this African side continent especially is very gibberish, it's very stupidity, it's very folly. Why? Because when a person is saying that I'm full-time, what they're simply saying is that I don't go to work, I don't work. So if you don't work, it means you are not going to eat. So we need to know how to work so that we may eat. I want to prophesy and declare to somebody that has listened and that is going to listen to this broadcast, whoever is going to share, I prophesy that financial streams may be opened for you. My prayer is that you may become a mystery in the area of finances. You may become a compendium in the area of finances. There are things that needs us to pray for. There are things that needs us to fast for. But when it comes to the ideology of making money, we must know strategies to employ. I always give an analogy of an eagle, one of the best, profound, prolific bird in the bird family, that for it to survive, it survives out of strategy. It does not survive out of chances. If it's fighting against a black mamba, one of the greatest poisonous, dangerous snakes in the whole world, it does not fight with it on the ground. It employs strategies. It takes it in the realm of the spirit, then fights with it in the realm of the spirit. Why? Because it has studied a snake, that a snake only has got stamina, strength, capacity, capability, proficiency when it's on the ground. But the moment it's off the ground, it doesn't have any stability, stamina. It cannot make the reflexes that it makes. So it goes with it up, it fights with it, and wins the battle. So employ strategies. We play with the different rules as people of God, but we don't have to be diabolical. One thing that I want to tell you while I'm closing is God hates laziness and the devil hates laziness. If there's anything that God and the devil has agreed that they will never use, is a person who's lazy. Thank you so much. God bless in Jesus' mighty name.